I will expose the corruption in Sacramento and hold these crooks accountable. I'm a businessman, a farmer, and an unapologetic. All right, folks, you certainly know what that theme song means by now. That's right. It's time for another episode of America Matters. I'm your host, Leo Zacky. Joining me today is Joshua Matriciana filling in for Eddie Floyd, and we've got Shannon Lawson there in the studio making it happen for us. So with that, I want to give a big, warm hello and welcome to everybody out there listening on 93.7 KPGF as well as AM 1060, and all the folks out there listening on whether it be the Answer Network, the Salem Network, Radio for America, the Kevin Jackson Network, or watching on AU1 Television, or any one of our streaming platforms, including Rumble, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook. Josh, we got so many of them now. I don't even know.
Yeah, YouTube as well.
YouTube. There. Awesome.
YouTube,
we're on
Instagram,
YouTube.
Facebook.
IG. Bam, bam, bam. I love it. They're all going out there. Josh, what are all those ones called?
Yeah, well, if you go to ZackyRadio.com, you can see a list. We're currently growing it out there, but ZackyRadio.com's got a shortcut to all the different platforms that we're going to be streaming, and it's growing.
Awesome. And you can also go to americamatters.us and click the link there. It'll take you to the Facebook page for America Matters Media. You can join us on there. Comment, get involved. It's America Matters. It's open mic. But I want to start off talking about something that, well, this is something I've always thought about and it has been a concern of mine, but, and I know other people are starting to talk about it, so I figured why not talk about it? Wi-Fi. We all have it in our homes. Some of us have it in our cars. It's pretty much everywhere you go nowadays, and we're constantly being bombarded with just different types of frequencies, whether they're Wi-Fi signals or radio waves or television signals. I mean, there's all sorts of invisible, quote unquote, radiation that we can't really see or perceive unless we have a device that can interact with it. But is it affecting our bodies? Like 5G, for sure 5G is definitely affecting our bodies. That stuff's super dangerous. But my point is that are other frequencies affecting us as well? And I do think they are. And there are some small studies that are showing that they do actually impact us and affect us. And I've got a clip here I'd like to show you about what happens with Wi-Fi being blocked out and Wi-Fi being focused on plants that are being grown in a small scale study. Can these electromagnetic frequencies impact growth? Can they impact people's, chemical makeup? Can they impact the way that their brains think? Well, let's find out. So if you can play clip 1 for us, we'll get that pulled up.
Be exposed to high levels, and the whole reason that we've covered them in tinfoil is because the environment of this classroom is filled with that. Right, so we had to try to isolate the plants inside of there and not let the Wi-Fi get in there.
I don't really know if it'll affect anything because, I grow plants in I have Wi-Fi in my house and I grow plants all the time and they grow fine.
It's gonna die.
You think so?
Yeah. It blew my mind that the Wi-Fi off, the plants are growing.
Yeah.
But Wi-Fi on, the plants are growing. So I think that when the Wi-Fi's on, it's affecting the world. Affecting the whole entire world.
What are people's arguments against our results going to be?
The Wi-Fi on might have dried out all of the water from the seedlings.
The heat will evaporate the water that's in the plant.
The FCC doesn't say anywhere that Wi-Fi and radiation is harmful to people.
I think that we have to explore those different variables to make this experiment as sound as we can. What's the first thing that you're going to do? You got your cell phone in your hands, you just watch that video. What are you going to Google?
Does Wi-Fi kill plants? Or other living things?
First thing I would look up is what else can it hurt?
What?
Our brain, our arms, our legs. Does Wi-Fi hurt our body physically and mentally? Could it affect your sperm count and decrease population?
What?
Given the fact that you have been part of this research, looking over all of these studies, do you have Wi-Fi in your house?
No, I've been in the technology industry all my life, and I've never had Wi-Fi.
Because?
Well, I just didn't feel it was right. I didn't feel it was safe. And my wife has been very actually forceful about not having that. Now, you can run a longer wire. It's a bit annoying.
Signaling. Produce heat.
Have any countries or cities like banned Wi-Fi?
Pretty wild stuff there, huh? But they've shown in a study with students that it does not grow. The plants do not grow. I guess they died or something, but it certainly didn't allow them to grow, Josh.
Well, you know, I was watching another research thing on this exact topic, and there's actually been a lot of videos that have been on social media that have been talking about this. One of them was an influencer was saying how instead of using Wi-Fi, what she uses another device where you can actually plug it into your outlet. And then anytime you plug, so anywhere in your house that's connected to your electricity, you can have an Ethernet adapter that you can plug in there. So instead of using Wi-Fi, it actually uses the copper wires in your house instead of having to run like a Category 5 cable. Anyway, so there are some ways that we can do this without having to use what is, growing studies are saying is harmful. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G. There's a lot of this we can't escape, but you'd think that, the safety of your own house, that you would be kind of, shielded or protected from these. So what do we do about it?
Right. Well, I actually know what device you're talking about. I have one of those in my house. So it does work pretty well. But yeah, I mean, obviously if you can have Cat 5 cables run through your walls and stuff like that, that's going to be far, far better, but it does work. It's actually pretty cool how that all happens. But, for human health, I mean, this non-ionizing radiation, like emitted by Wi-Fi, doesn't have enough energy to directly damage DNA, but some long-term observational studies have looked at the possible effects of constant exposure. It just might. Sleep disturbances, headaches, and fatigue, cognitive or memory issues, reduced sperm quality, and increased risk of cancer. So there's a lot of issues with that. But we got to take our first break here on America Matters. When we get back, we're going to continue talking a little bit more about Wi-Fi. I'm Leo Zacky with Josh Matrician and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana, and joining us as always is Shannon Lawson there in the studio. And we were just talking about Wi-Fi and the potential dangers that it could have, and along with all the other invisible wavelengths and frequencies out there that we can't touch, but we can certainly interact with devices. And there's a lot of major health concerns. And Josh, you were talking about a few of those as well.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, reduced sperm quality, increased cancer risk. I mean, there's not really been any widespread studies that have made this information popular, or made it public. Um, like this is going on. Like sleep disturbances has been one of the main things. Like a lot of people in modern culture have issues with sleeping. It could be the over caffeination, it could be the energy drinks we're all taking, and all these additional stuff. But Wi-Fi could be one of those things that's adding to that.
It could certainly be a factor. I mean, but it's like one of those things that were thrust upon us without any long-term studies being done. Much like COVID vaccinations, quote unquote, and mRNA.
Got to bring that one in there too.
Well, I mean, look, it's been forced upon us, right? No long-term studies, just massive, groupthink consensus of it's convenient, it will make your life better, use it. That sort of mindset. So, but places like the WHO and the National Institute for Environmental Health Sciences say there's no conclusive evidence that Wi-Fi exposure causes serious health problems. But I don't listen to the WHO because they're full of crap and they're liars and they're all in it for money. So I wouldn't trust a damn thing they say. But the effects on plants and animals, based on some long-term studies, suggest that electromagnetic fields, EMFs, might affect how plants grow or how seeds germinate. And even how birds and bees migrate, because we've been seeing a lot less bees, and you see all these like weird situations where like you have massive bird deaths, like all of a sudden, like it's like thousands of pigeons or something like just like fall out of the sky. There's videos of that happening, so who knows? But there's definitely something we do know that birds use electromagnetic. They can sense like electromagnetic frequency. That's how they train homing pigeons. They can find their way back to wherever they come from or where they roost or whatever. So pretty interesting how that all happens. And according to the WHO, their official stance is EMFs like those from Wi-Fi they categorize them as possibly carcinogenic to humans, which means that, and they put them in a category called Group 2B, which means the evidence is limited. For perspective, that category includes things like coffee and pickled vegetables. So the FCC and the International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection, the ICNIRP, of course, got to have an acronym and an organization for everything, right? State that Wi-Fi is safe at current exposure levels.
It's funny when the government tells you that something's safe, you can't always believe it. Like one of the contributing factors to the thing that most men spend a lot of time, at least once a week, thinking about is the Roman Empire. And one of the things that led to the fall of the Roman Empire was lead in pipes. And for up until the 50s, I believe, lead was in a lot of different things, like children's toys. Like I have toys that my grandfather left me, little lead soldiers, or lead paint. So the government approved it up until they decided, oh, actually, it's not great for you guys to use. So at what point do we see Wi-Fi or all these, electromagnetic radiation affecting the general population? At what point do we have to trust the government and be like, oh, well, they said it's okay, so I'm fine?
Well, I don't trust the government on a damn thing. I mean, they're the same ones that put fluoride in our water. They say it's because they want to help us with our teeth, even though it clearly it inhibits cognitive and free thinking by hardening your pineal gland. But that's a whole nother issue, and that's literally like a chemical waste. It's industrial waste byproduct that they dump into our system. But things like lead, I like the concept that lead blocks out a lot of things like different types of like radiation and stuff like that can block people from spying on you in your home.
Yeah, just don't
So,
touch it.
well, I mean, don't eat it. Certainly, I wouldn't be eating lead paint or anything like that.
Well, even if you touch it, that's the other thing, because lead, it's one of those weird materials that actually can infiltrate into your body just by touch alone. Or if pipes, if you have lead pipes with water going through, it can bring lead residue in there, and then that's what wreaks havoc on your body.
Well, we still have lead pipes throughout this country in a lot of places.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild, right?
We also
But
have
hey,
Wi-Fi.
hey, the government knows what they're doing. They're honest.
The government can. I think there's a funny
Yeah,
song
there
that
is.
talks about that.
Who can take your money? Yeah, I know that one. I think I've played that on here probably like a year or so ago. Anyways, let's
So
move
let's
on.
let's move on. Let's talk about something else since we're on the topic of health. What's the update on California's decision to offer full scope Medi-Cal to undocumented residents?
Well, you've probably heard that California budgeted $6 billion to provide Medi-Cal to quote unquote undocumented residents this year. That means illegal immigrants. That's the fancy word. That's the nice term for it. They're illegal. So according to California's Department of Finance, which is full of holes and inaccuracies, the actual projected cost is now $9.5 billion. So about 60% higher than what was originally budgeted for that, which is a lot. So if you'd like, I don't know if we have that video pulled up or not, but we have a clip here of what's going on in the state assembly hearing here in California.
Is with the California Department of Finance. So in the current year, to cover undocumented individuals in Medi-Cal, we're spending $9.5 billion total funds.
So it's not the $6 billion that people continue to talk about in the media. It's $9.5 billion.
Was a Budget Act number. This is a revised number based on the governor's budget updated estimates. So of the $9.5 billion, $8.4 billion is general fund.
Yep, let's just go over the budget. Nobody cares, right? It's endless, right? It's California. We have infinity dollars. Just keep raising taxes. We can pay for it. It's about doing the right thing, right? Because it feels good. It's right because it feels good. We're helping people, and Donald Trump's a racist, and so are all the Republicans out there that don't want to help these poor refugees, quote unquote, that are here illegally and not paying into the system. But I digress. So, of that, $8.4 billion is coming from the general fund, which is, state tax-paying dollars. So it's not the federal money or special funds. It's actually California's money. So that's quite a bit. And the new estimate is pulled out of thin air. Either it's based on an update from projections that Newsom's January budget proposal, but the cost of $9.5 billion this year alone is projected to continue growing. And guess what? We Californians are footing the bill. How's that sound, Josh?
Well, you know what? One thing about the financial situation in California, as you guys are watching the show, you might see me hop out. That's because ever since the fires, the internet infrastructure around here was damaged, destroyed in a lot of places. And, we could use that money, to help build up the infrastructure that was burned down. So apologize.
No. We have to help the people that are here illegally not paying into the system, because if we give them money and medical care and housing and education, when we give them an unsolicited mail-in ballot, they'll fill it out for us, the Democrats. And we'll continue to stay in power perpetually because we don't clean up our voter rolls.
Oh, yeah. All those 130-year-olds voting for continued health care.
Do we have 130-year-olds voting in California? Probably.
Wouldn't be nothing surprises me anymore.
Nothing does, right? I mean, it's all crazy. But look, you can't ask for an ID at a voting station. It is illegal, Josh. But God forbid you want to buy a beer or you want to buy a pack of smokes or even go get a bag of weed. You got to have an ID for that.
Yeah, you don't need an ID for bringing in the next leader of our of whatever area we're living in.
No, well, that would be common sense. If we can just mute Shannon while I'm getting feedback.
Yep. Well,
All right, good. Sorry about that. Anyways, yeah. So the Medi-Cal program is the California's version of Medicaid, and it ran short on money because that would mean California did something efficiently, which we never do, especially when it comes to money. Considering when you're talking about numbers like $9.5 billion, just to give you an idea, the state budget's anywhere from $200 to $220 billion a year, and you're talking about 0.5%. And it doesn't help anybody. Well, you try going to the doctor or go to the hospital, it's not run very well.
Well, hopefully, eventually, we'll be just as good as Canada's healthcare system. We
Oh,
only have to wait a
13
couple
months.
months.
Yeah, 13 months for an MRI if you have a brain tumor. That makes sense. God, I don't know what's worse, Canada's healthcare system or the VA. Well, we're catching up, is what it seems like. So, it's been a big issue. So, borrowing from the general fund, is what the state does to solve the immediate cash flow issue, but it's not sustainable because we're robbing Peter to pay Paul here with all this stuff. It's unbelievable how stupid and incompetent these people are. But hey, California.
Wait, you're saying that borrowing more money doesn't fix our debt problem?
No, it actually devalues the currency and forces us to, borrow money from other places that we shouldn't be borrowing it from, like the excise tax, for example, and then our roads don't get fixed.
But at least we've got healthcare.
I wouldn't even call it that. If you've got Band-Aids, you've got better healthcare than we got going on here in California. So anyways, we got to take our bottom of the hour break here on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana and Shannon Lawson. We're doing it live here, making it happen. We were just talking about, the state mismanaging funds and, Wi-Fi is possibly dangerous. I'm going to go ahead and say it probably is in very high concentrations. But there's other things going on out there in the world. Speaking of DNA being corrupted, how about 23andMe and their bankruptcy?
Ooh, yeah. So, okay, this is a fun one. The DNA testing company that promised to help you learn about your ancestry, your health risks, even your genetic traits, all from like a little tube of spit. You just swab around in there. It sounds futuristic, right? But well, that future just took, let's say, it took a dark turn.
Yeah. So this month, March of 2025, 23andMe filed their Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And the company that once bragged about revolutionizing personal genetics has now become a cautionary tale, rather, of overreach, underpreparedness, and in the eyes of many, a deep betrayal of public trust. This is a reason. Those are many reasons why I never did that, because there's a lot of things that 23andMe and giving your personal DNA to some company with a whole list of sign here, sign here, sign here didn't feel comfortable with. But anyways, their CEO and co-founder, and Anne Wojcicki, and if you recognize that last name, she's related to the lady that was the CEO of YouTube that was shutting everybody down. Just so you know. She resigned, though she plans to buy back parts of the company during the restructuring. Meanwhile, millions of customers are left asking, what happens to my DNA now? Well, they own it. So the privacy advocates are furious, and they say 23andMe's core product was trust, and trust that your most intimate information, your genetic code, would be safe, which I knew the whole time it would never be, because you were basically giving it to this company for free and they became the owners of it. But that's, what happens when you spend more than 3 seconds thinking about it. In 2023, that trust was shattered when the company suffered a massive breach, exposing data from over 7 million users. And this wasn't just emails and passwords. It was about people's, data, their ancestry, genetics, their matches, their health traits, and family connections. So, unlike a credit card or a password, you can't change your DNA. So,
I saw some alerts today and last night about this. If you have been a subscriber for 23andMe, what you can actually do is you can log into your account and you can download your own personal. That you can, that you
Josh, you cut out.
remove it.
So you can log in, start over.
Yeah, you can log in to your account and delete your, you have to go and manually delete your data. So there.
Sounds like he's back. He's
back.
flickering. He's
Sorry.
flickering with the underfunded infrastructure here in California.
Oh, I know it's always right when there's an important point to make. Obviously, whoever's in charge of this doesn't want you to hear this information. So if you are a subscriber to 23andMe and you've given up your data, your DNA data to them, you can actually log into your account and delete your data. And technically or officially, they will no longer have access. Kind of like you can do with Google and Apple, but you have to manually take that step on your own to go in and delete your own data.
Well, at least there's a way out of it for some, but again, you got to do it yourself. I know how people really love to do things themselves. They don't.
Well, so here's another interesting point. All right, in bankruptcy court, and this is what their the kind of the fear is. Everything's an asset, includes lab equipment, office chairs, even your data. So if you are in the market for buying a whole bunch of DNA data, guess what? It's going to be cheap right now if you want to go in and put your bid in to buy all of these, 7 million users?
I recently know of a few pharmaceutical companies that just came into, many trillions of dollars over the last 4 or 5 years. They might be willing to pick this up for pennies on the dollar. I also know that our government wants to specialize, or at least emphasize, in creating these AI vaccines that can be tailored specifically to you based on your genetic makeup. And they just got a $500 billion of seed capital to go and make that one happen. And so I don't know if you ever watched, the James Bond, I forget which one it is, but like they make the custom tailored diseases that kill specific people because they mapped it to their genetic code. It's almost like art imitates life. They kind of put this out there in the beginning. It's called pre-programming, part of Operation Mockingbird, but that's a whole nother subject too. But yeah, they could take your DNA information and then they could probably tailor a custom-made disease that they could then custom tailor a cure for you if they wanted to save you, that is, unless they just wanted to take you out. They could just make a disease that targets you specifically. They could release it into a room full of people and just kill you or make you very ill. The sad reality is that this isn't science fiction anymore, and it's all very real. So you might want to hustle up and get that data deleted before they go and sell it, because they will.
Yeah. So the good news, right? You can still take action. Delete your account. Of course, that's the first thing that you would try and go and do. Request sample destruction. If you submitted your physical DNA, you can ask them to destroy your sample data, which again, paperwork, but an extra step that you have to go in and do. And most people don't do that. But most importantly, stay loud, speak up. Like push for regulation on this kind of stuff. Like sometimes the government needs to get involved when the private sector is doing things like, gross negligence when it comes to privacy. And DNA is one of those important things that you can't change it. It's not a cell phone number you can just swap out. Your DNA is there for life, like you said.
So, folks, don't just give up your information like that. Try to be a private citizen. Just think a little bit. I know it sounds really cool and really convenient, but don't let really cool and really convenient destroy the concept of your privacy and your data being your data, not their data. A lot of customers are worried that this is going to happen. This is going to wind up in some biobank gold mine, and it certainly will if you don't act fast. Just think about it a little bit better in the future. I don't mean to scold everybody out there who's done it. It sounded really cool, but it's never, it's called, when something's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. Or if a service is free, you're probably the product.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
See?
It's the exact same thing. When Google came out with Gmail, right? We were like, oh, free email. That was kind of cool. But when you did that, you're like, oh, by the way, they can read all your email messages, and they can insert ads, and they can use that to build your ad tracking profile. Well, we kind of gave that away because it was free. Hey, free email. Now it's just considered, but we've lost some security measures that, from the beginning were kind of implemented there. And that's the same with, DNA. Again, with 23andMe, there's several other ones that people were like, oh, look, read their terms of service before you sign. Figure out which one's got the best terms of service. Still, it's all thrown out when you go into bankruptcy court. Everything gets,
Everything's out there in the open, available for purchase for pennies on the dollar. Bankruptcy is not fun for a business, but it's not fun for your data. Someone's going to buy it. So I don't know what else to say on the 23andMe stuff here, but just be careful, folks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a final thought here. I mean, it's when there's digital everything, right? They can even talking about digitally mapping out your DNA. I mean, genetic identity, that should be sacred. Like that's the one thing that each individual person has. And if companies don't protect it, that's when you actually need to have, lawmakers that take those extra steps to protect it. I don't like the government overreach in a lot of areas, but sometimes when privacy is involved, especially when it comes to genetic identity, I think that there should be some baseline protections there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't believe that we've gone so far away from privacy in this country with literally everything, the invasion and the total destruction of our private entities as ourselves. We're supposed to be private citizens, and yet we constantly get put in situations where we're conned out of our privacy and people just willingly give it up. And once you give that stuff up, you don't ever really get it back. But we can fight for it.
You bring up a really interesting point here because you know we're talking about how art imitates life. You're talking about science fiction becomes kind of science fact. How life sometimes is starting to imitate art. And I always go back to this. There was a show called Dark Mirror, right?
Love
Yeah,
that show. Black
yeah.
Mirror.
Black Mirror. That's what it's called. Sorry. And one, I remember one of the episodes, actually several of the episodes, talks about what happens to your DNA after you die, and can they make
Oh yeah. Okay, I know what episode he's talking about. So like basically like transferring your consciousness, right? That episode.
Yeah, yeah. It brings up a lot of questions. That's such a great show.
Yeah, but that's what Elon Musk wants to do, and all these other psycho billionaires who think they're gods, that they can somehow download and migrate your consciousness to the cloud and really be in heaven, digital heaven, where your soul lives forever. So don't buy for a second.
Yeah, I know we only got a couple seconds before we go to break, but there's another point I want to make on that when we get
Go
back.
ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. We can go a
Got
little
it.
bit.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. This is a conspiracy theory, if you want to put it like that. I don't think that you can actually ever transfer consciousness. What I think is that you actually clone it, and now you have this digital counterfeit of you that looks like you, talks like you, acts like you, sounds like you, but isn't actually you. And that's where the deceit comes in.
Mm-hmm. Deceit is a great word to use in that. And then if they could somehow couple AI to it, then it's artificial you, which would just be, like you said, counterfeit. So interesting point. Interesting point to do that.
As a Christian, the enemy is the devil, and the devil is the master of deceit. So if you think about it, our enemy is deception. That's the number one way to infiltrate, to corrupt, to take you in. And deceit is something that I don't think Americans pay enough attention to. We don't think that we're being tricked.
Well, you're getting tricked every day. Every time you turn on the TV and the government tells you something, or like, take this injection. Oh, it's Mr. Pfizer. He's a great guy. Eat this food. It's totally fine for you. It's healthy. If you were a loved one suffered from this or that or died due to eating this something or whatever. Anyways, we got to take our last break here on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Josh Matriciana. We'll be right back. Okay. All right. Well, see, I can't hear the music. We are working with a new system here. So, hmm. Well, I guess we'll just have to scratch that StreamYard thing for today. But sorry. Anyways, we are working this out. We've got a new program here. So, anyways, let's move on here to the California elections subject. Um, Rick Grinnell, former U.S. ambassador and prominent Trump ally, uh, and longtime, just political person who got his start with George W. Bush and whatnot. So he's been in the game for a long time. Anyways, he it's possible that he was asked to step in and oversee aspects of the GOP's internal election process here in California.
Okay, so what's the intent of that? To ensure that the President Trump's long-standing directives was followed, that votes cast using paper ballots counted by hand, as opposed to having an electronic device that anyone can hack into?
Right. Well, that's what you would think, because that's what Republicans seem to tout all the time, except inside of our own parties. So, I've got a little clip here that Mike Cargile put out. He's running for Congress in California. And, just take a listen to what he has to say and what took place during the voting there in this past
Smile. Week. It's Cargile. A few weeks ago, I implored Rick Grinnell to involve himself in the Republican elections taking place here in California and assure that the clear mandates of President Trump were being adhered to. He refused. As a result, this occurred. Yeah! Did you catch it? Watch it again. One more time.
So what you don't see is flashing on the screen a little window.
Unexpected participants. How many? Who are they? What impact did they have? This is exactly the reason President Trump said that the only valid elections are those using paper ballots that are then hand counted. Any excuses offered at this point only look like someone trying to cover their tracks. How can we ask the state of California to do something that we as Republicans are not willing to do ourselves? Being an envoy is to carry out the dictates of the president. Being an ambassador is to reflect his policies and his positions to a foreign country. Being a leader requires decisions that may be unpopular, but are nonetheless right. I stand with President Trump on this.
So I was there. I saw that little thing flash on the screen when we did the election there at the CAGOP, and that only popped up during if I'm not mistaken, the vice chair race. So kind of interesting how that went down.
Well, what just to play off that, look, when you get an alert that says there's been an unexpected breach, that's like pretty serious.
It's a red flag. I mean, there is a problem here.
And if you were having some kind of nefarious intention behind that, the fact that alert was that even popped up, that means that whatever hacker or bad guys are working behind the scenes are going to try to figure out how they can go around that, so that even though it's for a split second that the audience saw that there was a breach, that they're going to double their efforts and make sure that we're not even aware of it. So again, paper ballots, counting by hand, so that you don't have these potentially bad actors in the code.
And maybe we shouldn't have proxies. If you're going to be a delegate, you're the one that's responsible for voting. You have the responsibility to show up and vote in person. And if you don't show up, then you shouldn't have been a proxy in the begin with, and your vote doesn't get cast.
Hey man, you don't show what that's what Trump's been saying. You don't show up to work, you're not going to get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the point, right?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the concept here, but there's a lot of different laws that have been bylaws or whatever that have been written into the CAGOP to kind of keep the establishment propped up and in power perpetually. It's pretty wild. So, but the fact that that window popped up, I saw it. A lot of people saw it, but it was quickly X'd out by whoever's controlling the screen there, and it was not commented on at all after that took place inside of the wherever the hell we were with the election. It was the convention center in Sacramento. Wasn't brought up. Nobody could question it. Amazing,
Yeah,
huh?
you know what, that kind of reminds me. I remember when Trump was I went to bed. This was the last election cycle, not the most recent one. I went to bed
2020.
thinking, yeah, right, 2020. I went to bed thinking that Trump won.
Yeah, me too.
Right, and then do you guys remember that bump that happened at like 2 o'clock in the morning or
The
something?
Biden bump.
The Biden bump, right?
It's much bigger than a Hunter Biden bump, but
Hey, he's got jokes.
I
But
got you.
that bump was not, and what I'm getting at is that no, it was ignored. Nobody commented on it in the mainstream media. They weren't like, oh, all of a sudden there's all these ballots that just popped up out of nowhere in the middle of night. That's
Right?
what they just ignore it. They ignore it and they think, oh, well, if we don't bring attention to it, then no one's going to notice. But guess what? We noticed.
Well, yeah, because we're not stupid and we're involved and we want fair elections and we're going to be paying attention to it. But they think that because they're in this position of power, that they can rule with impunity and do whatever they like because who can challenge them? They're the authority. That's the problem. There's a lack of the ability for us to hold them accountable. And then there's a lack of follow through when it comes to our judicial system. But inside of our own party, none of those things exist.
You know, this gaslighting that's happening, and this is an example of it. I mean, the fact that they don't bring attention to it and that people don't demand the attention. Like there should have been people saying, hey, excuse me, stop the tape. What just happened? What was that? Can we bring attention to that thing that we all just saw instead of you ignoring it and saying it didn't happen?
Yeah. People were making a fuss. People were making a fuss, but they were all dismissed by the leadership.
Yeah, I mean, and that hat. Okay, so let's put our tinfoil hats on for a second. How many other times in the mainstream media do we see with our eyeballs, and then the mainstream media completely ignores it? Like, oh, wait, was there an explosion? How come? How come Building 5 just fell? A plane didn't hit it.
Tower 7.
Tower 7, that's right. Tower 7. How come that fell and a plane didn't hit it? Well, can we
Well,
talk about that?
it also was reported that it fell 20 minutes before it actually did.
Oh, right? It's like it was planned.
Right?
Or my most favorite one of them all, out of all of the 500 or 700 rallies that Trump did, CNN decided to only live broadcast one.
Oh, wait, the one where he got shot?
Oh my gosh. Why was that the one that they decided to live broadcast?
It's almost like they knew that something was going to happen because they're all, well, I mean, the mainstream media, let's face it, they're the fourth branch of the government.
Oh my gosh. Since we're on this, I can't, this is one thing that's so, and I can't swear on this, and I'm not going to, but one thing that really, really makes me hopping mad is
when your internet cuts out, Josh, right when you have something important to say. Damn it. This is we are going to get this situation fixed. I don't know, come hell or high water, but what makes you hopping mad?
Oh my gosh. The one thing that makes me hopping mad, I don't know, maybe a Starlink can fix this. I know you don't love Starlink, but hey, you know what? When in dire times, we need extreme measures.
And he's gone just like that. Oh God, this is such a challenge here. We're doing our best here at America Matters to make this all happen. Hopefully, he can get back on. If he doesn't, we might have to wait till tomorrow for him to tell us what makes him so hopping mad. But yeah, Hey, Shanimal. Sorry, I don't know. He cut out. So, unfortunately, we are pretty much out of time. We got 22 seconds left here in the broadcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us tomorrow. And on that amazing cliffhanger, oh, he's back. On that amazing cliffhanger, Josh, I think we're going to have to hold off on find out what makes you so hopping mad.
Oh, no. You didn't.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely talk about it tomorrow then.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today on American Matters. See you all tomorrow at 11.